Welcome to The Power of Rhythm, a podcast with your host Reinhard Flatischler around the one thing that connects us all: rhythm.
My guest today is a percussionist, composer, music teacher and author. But is also a fascinating bridge between the old traditional music of Iran and the futuristic approach of world music. He's the artistic director of the Sufi art group and composer and percussionist with the Ensemble Diaspora World music group in Brisbane, Australia. Finally, his healing work as a therapist. He is exploring communication through drumming and singing with young refugees. Welcome, Arash Zanganeh. It's great to have you here.
Hello, Reinhard. Thank you so much for inviting me to the Power of the Rhythm podcast. It is my pleasure to talk to you now.
Wonderful. I have been reading through your book. There's a lot of beautiful, I would almost say universal things. That's not just true for Sufism or for Iranian traditional music, but it's very universal. I will discuss about that. But why don't we just start right at the beginning? In traditional Iranian music, you have also the dumbak, but you choose the daf, right? The daf drum. And maybe we first present to our listeners, what's a daf drum? How did you first encounter the daf? And so what was your past with it?
That's right. You had a good comment on that one. Well, actually, it's back to more than 30 years ago, because at that time, actually, I was very young and I was keen to collect all the rhythm, especially around the, Iran has a variety of culture, tribes, and, races. So for that reason, it was a good point for me to travel around the border of Iran and visit and meet the most, master in music, actually ritual music. So, yeah, as you mentioned, it doesn't belong only to the deaf. And because this type of rhythms playing with a variety of percussion, even in like a ritual and chanting music. So at that time, unfortunately, because they learned how to teach the music generation by generation, like a face to face, and they didn't believe to write down and teach the other people like music lessons. So I had no choice to just memorize all that rhythms during that time. And then during the travel always happened by bus. And then I just repeated, sometimes between 7 to 9 hours for myself to memorize all the pattern. And then as soon as I arrived in my hometown, and then trying to write that. So this journey, it took actually more than 30 years. So until now, when I migrated to Australia, I decided to write down in an academic and classical, actually notation.
Okay.
So, yeah.
The daf is the only drum that I know that has rings inside that give that special snare sound or whatever. You go, what's the significance of this? How did they come up with this?
That's really good question, actually, because daf is so simple in terms of the structure, the body structure. So for that reason, it's helped the percussionist to use most of the techniques that the players can do. So, for example, at the very, very beginning shape, it's only just a frame and a few rings. And in a natural structure, use the goat's skin because goat's skin is quite, soft and acoustic. But nowadays they use the synthetic skin at the moment, which is not too bad. It's very similar to the natural sound. Yes, that's right. Yes, it's behind me as well. So
just showing our listeners how that looks, because not many people might have seen a dove. So
for sure, yes. And then it's the beginner's dove back to many years ago, maybe 2,000 years ago, before Islam arrived in Iran or Middle East. So at that time, it was kind of, ritual things. For example, women especially played dove to have a, harvest from the farm, something like this. So that was the different approach to the dove, always players. But during the long time, it's changed as a main and very, very, specific rhythms for the Sufism, because they use the chanting and then playing the patterns to support the chanting. So gradually, it's become as a Sufi frame drum now.
So there is actually a miraculous difference. The traditional Islam almost does not allow music, while Sufism always was kind of, in love with music. And
Correct. That's a really good and very specific point to this one, because when Islam arrived in Iran or a different part of Middle East, they always collect all the cultures. So music doesn't belong to Islam. So music is part of Persian ancient culture. So Sufism, just the actually philosopher of the Sufism, trying to join these beliefs together to have a better approach. That's a really good point, actually.
Okay, I think it's time to play a little bit for them. So I'm playing the first tune from your beautiful album, The Love and Rhythm. It's kind of, a wonderful combination, and we'll talk about how love and rhythm is connected. This is the first tune that's called Agosh. Do I say this right? Agosh, embrace, Okay.
Correct. Hey. Hey!
That's A Gauche, Embrace, played and composed by tar master Arash Zanganeh. Now, is this you alone?
That's right. Yes, it is. That's very interesting. Well, I just wanted to mention in some word of this specific, the name of the rhythms. I just try to collect it from the Sufi point of view because I do still believe all of them belongs to them, although they, filtrate by myself, but the original belongs to the Sufi patterns.
Now, I quote one thing from you that really touched me. You said, the musician, without losing himself, is incapable of making a direct impact on the audience. So it's the concept of getting lost in love and rhythm, isn't it?
It is. That's very controversial. That was a point. But yes, I do believe that.
I mean, this is true, I think, for any culture. If you are not completely losing yourself in rhythm, which then, of course, is love, then you're not reaching anything. So
absolutely.
In this last tune, I also heard another drum, like, is this just tar or something else too?
I try to have a contemporary arrangement with the clay pot in Iran called chakana. So similar to the Urdu in North Africa and India, but the shape is like a fig, not like an olive one. And daf and tumbak.
Okay. But you're also a composer and percussionist for the Ensemble Diaspora World music group in Brisbane. Huh? So you created actually movie or a video clip called Ritual. What is this ritual about?
I was very lucky to meet the Celtic music in Brisbane. It was a very rare chance. Imagine the musicians around the world get together. Australia, it's so multicultural, has a so multicultural population. So that was the great opportunity to meet different musicians around the world, especially the Irish and the musician from England, just located in Brisbane. And as I said, I met them in 2015. And the leader of the ensemble, Sebastian Flynn, from England, he's a violin player, and he decided to invite the different musicians, especially from Iran and Celtic musicians. So during this time, just playing together, so we realized, wow, we have lots of similarity between ancient Persian music, like the magam or dastgah in Persian music, and Celtic music. So we decided to create a combination between the Irish, Scottish, England, and Persian music. So I do believe it's very rare happened in the world because that was the opportunity in Australia. So as you mentioned, Ritual is the result of the 5 years playing together. So I wrote some rhythm and basic music based on the lyrics, which belongs to the Hafiz, the Persian poet, in 800 years ago. And the side of the music, like the introduction and instrumental part belongs to the Sebastian Flynn from England.
Mm-hmm. I see there in this project something very remarkable. You see, in politics, they try to create enemies, like Iran is the enemy of the USA and blah, blah, blah. Now you're bringing everything together, and we are kind of remembering that we are all brothers and sisters in music. That is so wonderful. Now, who is the woman singing in this ritual?
The lady, the singer, is from Iran. She is one of the great singers, traditional singers in Iran, and she is a percussionist as well.
Wow.
So, because against the wrong beliefs that women had to stop the singing, so we decided to use her voice on top of that, which is very, very remarkable, as you mentioned. Yeah, I'm really happy with that.
All right, let's listen to it, the ritual now.
هوشیار نخواهم شد هوشیار نخواهم شد هوشیار نخواهم شد.
What a powerful music. It's ritual, co-composed by Arash Zanganeh and Sebastian Flynn with the Ensemble Diaspora World music group in Brisbane. Now, I have a question. There are some cultures where women are not encouraged to play drums, but I think in Iran, are women encouraged to play the daf? I think so, right?
That's true. Yes, a lot. So, there is a very, interesting, actually, the beliefs. If you ban something, people interested to move that one. So exactly happened to Iran. Because unfortunately, with the, wrong policy, women not able to sing and play in a, public area. So for that reason, most of the young generation interested in Persian music, especially some percussion like a daf, tombak, and also the other side of the instrumental and musical instruments. So, which is very good. And I saw many, famous musicians in Iran support them. And then nowadays, they have a great platform to introduce themselves around the world, which is very nice. And this is the power of the music and culture. So I do believe that, and I always help them to introduce themselves as a great musician.
Wonderful. Since I have you here, I have a question. What is a Sufi and what is Sufi music? For someone who has not heard this yet, so how would you describe that?
I try to introduce Sufism in a very simple word. Sufism is not a specific religion. It's kind of philosophy. It is believe all the religions, all the beliefs, and they prefer to unify all the beliefs together. That's the power of Sufism. And they do believe the strong step for that one is art, like music, poet, dance, especially reeling, because reeling dance is kind of connection between the whole, wave on the atmosphere to the air. Mm-hmm. So for that reason, music is very important, tool for the Sufism to have a great connection between all the people and human beings.
So in a way, it is a very mystic way to explore the divinity. Directly.
Correct.
Right.
Correct. Love and devotion.
Yeah, and you have actually played with a great female mystic singer, Abida Parveen. Is this the right spelling?
That's right. Abida Parveen is a very, very famous Sufi singer in India. And I'm glad to meet her in Delhi. I had a good another project about the Rumis in a Land of Khusrau, connection between two poets in India. So this album created at that time in 2000. So she is amazing, and if the Sufi music interested, they can find her around the world, because she like a Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan travel around the world and work with a very famous musician.
I have seen her singing I googled her and I saw her singing. It's amazing, you know, what she put out. Yeah, she reminds me of Nusrat Ali.
That's right.
Very,
yes.
very powerful. So let's again have some of your music, and it's called Ashk. Is that right? Ashk, tear?
Here, correct.
Okay, can you say something like about this composition? Is Ashk a Persian name, or what does Ashk mean?
Ash, it means exactly tears. It's about it's collected from the poet. Again, belongs to Hafiz, but I like to mention this composition belongs to another Sufi musician. Unfortunately, he passed away many years ago. But the power of the circular rhythm is so interesting. There is no specific bars for this type of rhythm. It's like a circular and then belongs to the poet. So, just wanted to...
Maybe you can explain this to our listeners also. Is there any rhythm that's not circular, or do you mean a special circular? Maybe you explain this.
A special circular, because it's changing after any round. It means at the beginning it started by 13 or 26, and then change it to 25, 23, 24, 23, and then the circular is randomly changed. And then it's happened because of the poems.
Oh, wow. So,
yes.
And we hear this in this composition too, right? Great.
Correct.
So let's play it.
که اشک در غم ما پرده در شود ترسم که اشک در غم ما پرده در شود ترسم که اشک در غم ما پرده در شود این راز سرم به مهر به عالم سمر شود ترسم که اشک در غم ما پرده در شود سنگ لال شود در مقام صبر گویم سنگ لال شود در مقام صبر هاری شود ولیک به خون جگر شود آری شود ولیک به خون جگر شود ترسم که اشک در غم ما پرده در شود
کن گرم کاخ وصل
کران تیر دعا کردم روان کردم روان از هر کران تیر دعا کردم روان کردم روان باشد که از آن میان یکی کارگر شود کارگر شود ترسم که عشق در غم ما در غم ما پرده در شود خواهم شدم به میکده گریان و داد خواهم شدم به میکده گریان و داد کس دست غم خلاص من آنجا مگر شود آنجا مگر شود آنجا مگر شود ترسم که عشق در غم ما در غم ما پرده در شود این راز سر به ما به عالم سمر شود ترسم که عشق در غم ما در غم ما پرده در شود ترسم که عشق در غم ما در غم ما پرده در شود ترسم که عشق در غم ما در غم ما پرده در شود ترسم که عشق در غم ما در غم ما پرده در شود.
Ask, composed and played also by Arash Zanganeh, and what a deep music. It's whether you understand the words or not, they really touch a very deep chord, in me at least, and I think in many listeners hopefully too. How alive is the today's Iranian traditional music scene?
That's really good question, and it's good and bad, unfortunately. Good thing is new generation very love them, but unfortunately there is no good platform for them. So mainly it's about the economy things. They have to spend lots of money to learn music in a private institute and a university as well. And at the end of the story, but unfortunately, there is no good platform to introduce them or introduce the new ideas. So I think most of the musicians at the moment thinking to have a great connection with a different country or outside of the Iran. Although the music is part of main culture of Iranian, especially the people who care about the Iranian culture in Iran. So, as I said, but they try nowadays to publish and distribute all the music in a worldwide or global platform.
Yeah. And of course, you also wrote a book in which you actually put together all these years that you have been put into DAF and the research you did about it. With whom do you want to reach with this book?
Honestly, I don't think about a specific, the people or players or people who are interested in these, areas. Because I do believe rhythms is like a global language, and there is no border for the rhythms or pattern. Especially rhythms, in a specific rhythms, doesn't matter anyone knows about the music or not. They can use as a enjoyable, tools or something, or like a hobby. For that reason, so I try to write down like a classical notation, but I was care about the traditions and the specific pattern of the Sufism.
Remind our listeners, what's the name of the book?
The Rhythm of Love.
How beautiful is that? And is it actually available on the like in Amazon or so? Can people?
Correct.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
Correct. Yes.
Actually, I read it, and it's beautiful stories of Sufi saints. And it seems like Sufi always has to do with ecstasy, also in a way. Yeah. This music is meant to dance, right?
That's right.
And
yes.
Lose yourself in the dance and connect with the divine, right?
Exactly. Exactly. That's right.
How beautiful is that?
Thank you so much.
Okay, last question. If you had all the resources you needed to put together an event, a music event or any other event, what would you do?
It's very tough question because I'm a percussionist and I do believe I have to invite all the percussionists around the world and play together with no borders. That's my, my dream. So, but, all the music are, powerful. So it doesn't matter which type of music. So, but I really love the, percussion and rhythms specifically.
Thank you. I think it's a perfect answer, like to reach out and play with everyone together. Yeah. How beautiful is that? So, I thank you so much for your time and that you come on my podcast. I think the listeners will really enjoy what they have heard from you.
Thank you so much.
Where can they find you on the web? What do they do?
SufiArtGroup.com.
Okay, SufiArt.com.
Yeah.
That sounds good.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Wonderful to meet you, and also to our listeners, check Arash out. It was a big surprise, to find someone so versatile, from really traditional to reaching out to world music, and also you doing therapy with refugees. How beautiful is that?
Thanks for inviting me. It was very my pleasure to meet you and talk to you. Thank you so much, Reinhard.
Wonderful. And also the listeners, I'm sure you enjoyed our episode again. So if you like us, visit us at powerofrhythm.com/podcast. You always can leave a comment and, drop a name that you want me to interview. And so for now, have a great day, a great time, and keep on grooving.